podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
So African URC teams are 25% of the whole league, but we're 50% of the semi-finals. Also, is Jacques the devil? Let's get stuck in. Welcome back to Bit of an Animal, the South African Rugby Union show here on the Global Gainline's YouTube channel. I am joined this evening by the returning Sibusiso and Bryce. Good evening, gentlemen.
How's it, guys?
Guys, topic number one. Glasgow host the Bulls, not at Scotstoun, not at the 7,000-seater Scotstoun, but the 67,000-seater Murrayfield. This is like Stormers getting a semi-final and being forced to play it in Gqeberha. But of course, the Stormers quite enjoy playing Gqeberha, so that's a little different. We don't have the resident Bulls supporter, but we do have somebody who resides in the Gauteng province. So we'll kick it to you, Sibusiso.
I think the fact that the game is moved to Murrayfield, it's going to be good for the Bulls because that 7,000 seater you mentioned is actually an AstroTurf, if I'm not mistaken, and they're moving to an actual field. It's gonna be good for the Bulls. But looking at the Bulls lineup, I think it's a very strong lineup, and I just hope they can dominate the set plays because I believe they have a strong forward pack compared to Glasgow. Even if you look at their front row, I mean, they have two Springboks there. Even it feels like it's Scotland versus South Africa in a way. But yeah, I really hope the Bulls can actually make it. But as we've seen in these playoffs so far, the home team actually wins. But I'm actually hoping that the Bulls can actually win maybe by 5 if there is. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Papil can do. I mean, he's the best South African rugby players in the URC so far. So yeah, we'll see how that pans out. So looking forward to that, and yeah, I think the Bulls can actually go and cause a surprise here, even though we've seen that home teams actually wins in this URC so far.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because, I mean, the Bulls are the only South African team to have won a knockout game in Europe. That very impressive Friday night victory against Leinster at the smaller Leinster Stadium that's being renovated now, thus forcing them to play all their games at the Aviva, which takes away a little from the atmosphere. Look, the Bulls have a stacked team in terms of just depth, but then the team that they're selecting now for this game, Valera, who's starting at fullback, world-class Kurtley Arendse on the wing, Kenan Moodley shifting to outside center, Harold Foster playing better than last season. Last season he was exposed a little. I mean, Stevino Jacobs might not have gotten a lot of game time over these last 2 seasons, but he is taking his opportunity towards the end of the season. Emrose Papier, having been capped at Test Rugby years ago and not had a look in for a while. With all the injuries at number 9, I think maybe he's actually got a shot now. And then Cameron Anakom, 2 debilitating injuries over the last 3 years, but you'd never think it. I mean, the guy came back from rehab and is playing really well this end of the season. In the back row, I'm a big fan of Ronokia. He's an excellent player. Like you said, in the front row, it's 2 Cap Springboks and then Francois Kloppers, who comes from the Sharks youth system. A player under any other circumstances probably would have gotten some game time at test level. Marco Verstappen regularly at 16 of late. Hopefully he doesn't. The last time they versed this opponent at this exact venue, Marco Verstappen came off the bench and he didn't make so much of an impact with the ball in hand and turnovers, but really seemed to want to fight the Scottish players. Yeah, Hendrik Wessels, I'm hoping he plays quite well. He can cover a loose head and hooker, so that's interesting. And then Wilco Low, this could be Wilco Low's last game for the Bulls, and if they get defeated before he moves over to the Stormers. Yeah, and then both South African teams in the semi-finals going with 6-2 splits. Andrew Brace, Irish referee. A whole Irish referee contingent on the referee panel, including the TMO. Bryce, I think the Bulls got a shot.
They definitely got a shot. I think if I remember that quarterfinal against Glasgow in the Champions Cup, I think that was 50-50 at a lot of points, and it was basically some, what should I say, non-thinking from certain players that gave Glasgow a lot of penalties and gifts to get out of jail. Interesting that Nizam Kaur is number 23. I don't know if that's because there was an injury or something that he's now 23. I know Jake White used to do that a lot. But because I know you said 6'2", but I see Nizam Kaur is number 23. So I'm not, maybe there was an injury that I don't know. But yeah, I think this team is, I think, look, it's much better to play at Murrayfield than it is to play at Scotstoun. I mean, Scotstoun is it's like a really old school stadium where you're exposed to all the elements. And from the looks of it, I think it's going to be another wet, cold outing again. But hopefully it's a little bit better to play Ball and Ad, because I think this Bulls team is a little bit more of a dry weather team. They've proven to be really, really, really solid on the dry weather in Loftus or at Ellis Park or wherever. So yeah, I think it shouldn't be so surprised if the Bulls do win this. I mean, the Bulls have been on great form, and then again, Glasgow is championship material. So look, I think where the Bulls are going to win this, I think they're gonna really put pressure on that scrum. I think the first half with Gerard and second half with Volko, I think that's really where they're gonna assert their dominance, and hopefully, because I think this is the game for Embrose Papier. If Embrose Papier can really put on a show here, I think he might actually play number 9 against the All Blacks. I genuinely think he's playing that good, and Ranak is injured. I'm not sure what the timeline is for Grant or Mornay. So a lot of new stories can happen this year. So, and I mean, like Siwa Sisu said, that is the Springboks right there. I mean, 1 to 15, with maybe the exception of 1 or 2 guys. That's literally a Springbok 15. So how do I think this is going to play out? Same as the last time they played out. It's going to be a cagey affair, and it's going to come down to discipline, and probably it's probably going to come down to a kick again, and hopefully Pollard does put it over, and we get to have an all South African final,
Yeah, this is the third time these two teams have met each other this season at the same, in Scotland, not the same venue. And then, Zamko at 23, even though he's a sort of a loose forward player, the only backline players are Zach Berger and Sedman Gans. So it might be a sort of a head fake type thing, instead of putting him at 21, making it more sort of uniformity. So that's an interesting thing. And then from the Glasgow perspective, they've got former Griquas captaining them, Carl Steyn, having a blinder last week against Connacht. No Hugh Jones, former Stormer in the team, but Stephen McDowell's been in great form. Josh Mackay, Carl Rowe, Dan Lancaster, and Adam Hastings as the fly-off options. Obviously condolences to Adam Hastings, having lost his dad recently. Jamie Dobby's making a comeback, a guy who covers scrum off and wing. Reasonably solid. It's just about, look, this is not the Glasgow team who lost twice in South Africa more recently. So I definitely think it's going to be a close game. But if any South African team can win away, it's the Bulls. Sibusiso?
Yeah, I actually agree that if there's any team to win away, it's actually the Bulls. I just wanted to point out the fact that these guys have played like 5 times in recent history, and the Glasgow is edging it by 1. I think they've won 3 times. The Bulls have won twice. So I think it's the Bulls' time to actually make it even tomorrow. And another thing I was thinking about when you guys mentioned like that Ambrose Papil is actually gonna get his chance as a Springbok number 9. So with Sasha injured, don't you guys think that uh, Pollard, the combination of Pollard and Papil at union level might actually be the one that Rassi would be looking at going forward?
Yeah,
So
that could well happen. Yeah.
maybe with
I mean,
them playing this game, hopefully in the final next week, it might help them give them more match time, because I think the first game for Springbok is on the 20th, if I'm not mistaken. So which is a little time to try new combinations when they get on camp. So I don't know.
yeah, we hope that they're actually not available for that game on the 20th against the Barbarians. We hope that they're actually playing in the final. But yeah, if they get defeated here in Scotland, then could well go forward. I mean, Grant Williams is fit. It's Kobus Reinach, Mone van der Berg, Krappies, and Jaden Hendricks is out with a concussion injury. So those are the 3 prominent. We don't know what form and fitness uh, de Klerk is in, or Faf. So we'll have a look closely. I mean, what's crazy about the Bulls is that they have Imros Papier, Zach Berger, and Paul de Wet, who recently got recruited from the Stormers to the Bulls, and they're all like really good scrum halves, and they've been rotated back and forth. The weird thing is that Keegan Johannes, who played last season really well at both fly off and scrum half, he's not gotten much of a look in at all. I should actually just have a close look at how much game time he's actually got this season. So that's what you call depth. Gentlemen, we move on to, oh, by the way, but Bryce, you're correct. Weather does not look favorable. Is it always raining in Scotland? I don't know. We move on to Leinster versus Stormers, or Leinster hosting Stormers. Sash Feinberg and Gomezulu injured, so that obviously means that his understudy, who's 1 year older than him, Yuri Matia, steps in. Very young, 9-10 combo. Damien Willemse remains at fullback. Thankfully, the Stormers' most sort of consistent center combo, Dan du Plessis and Roanel, are fit to play. Wandisile Similani is slotting in at that wing in replacement of the injured wing who got concussion last week. And Chunu is having a revelation of a season towards the end of the season. And then the front row combos, the Stormers rotated a lot at the start of the season, but the front row combos of starting with Fouché, Andre Hofente, and Chunu, and then bringing JJ Kotze and Vernon Matongo, Zach Porthen on in the second half, that's become more consistent. Good to see Rowan Ackerman's back. Salman Morat's made an impact, clearing out rucks and with organization at the line out time. And yeah, 6-2 split. Bryce, this is your team. You guys are playing away you're very much underdogs, but this isn't necessarily the full strength Leinster team either. So you're in with a shot, very much so.
Yeah, I think this team is well, I'm talking about the Stormers team is very similar to that team that went on an 8-0 win streak. Actually, it is actually it's almost exactly the same if I now look at it. Yeah. So I'm not like terribly down that some of them are missing, because we have seen this team actually play quite well together without the superstars. It is is a big miss, because I think he does, sometimes he does bail us out there, like against Toulon, he just pulls that out, rabbit out the hat. So, but I do have confidence in Yuri Matia with Willemse at fullback. I think Yuri will be a bit more, should I say, because he does pass more than Sacha. So I do think he might be able to bring Willemse and the wingers in. But yeah, it's weird. It's weird because Leinster's is a strange team to play against because it's almost like hitting a brick wall. I mean, we saw the Lions and other teams when they try to attack against Leinster, it's just like walking through quicksand. It's almost impossible to get over the gain line. So look, and I don't know. I think Dob was also a bit conflicted now because he's kind of in this in between now. Because I think against Cardiff, he has been trying to play a lot more conservative, a lot more using the scrum. But Leinster this season, I have been talking to a couple of Leinster fans, and they have been saying this Leinster scrum has been quite impressive. So I'm a bit worried in that aspect because the Stormers do rely on their scrum quite a lot. So yeah, so hopefully, I think what is in our favor is the kick. The Stormers do have one of the highest kick retention rates in the competition. In fact, I think it's the second highest below Cardiff. So they will have a lot more chances to attack, and they might get a scrum penalty here or there. But these teams are quite identical in terms of how their season has been going. And Leinster has been, they've been there, but they haven't been there this season. Stormers the same. So, but hopefully it's not. Hopefully it's not like that Lions game where it starts off well and then they get blown apart and it becomes a real disappointment. I hope the one-man bomb squad that is Warrigaland does save the day, because it's funny enough, Warrigaland coming off the bench sometimes does bring something when all hope is lost. And in terms of Leinster, I don't believe in their A and B teams because I think it's just as hard to play against their B team. It's only when it gets to their C team then it's like, okay, now we have a chance. But A and B team, it's about the same in my eyes. And I think this is more like an A minus team. So yeah, as you can hear, I'm not that hopeful because the Stormers haven't really shown it to me that outside of that scrum they have anything threatening that will worry Leinster. Yeah.
Interesting thoughts. Sibusiso?
Yeah, I actually echo most of Bryce's sentiments there because Leinster can frustrate your attack with their defense, and like you said, hopefully he doesn't blow it like the Lions because Lions started well and got frustrated by their defense so much that they started losing all concentration and they started leaking tries. So yeah, I'm mainly looking forward to the midfield with who are these guys? I'll tell you now, Dan Duplessis and Juan Nel against Jamie Osborne and Enrique Ioane. So for me, I think the battle is gonna be there. And I hope Ruan and Dan actually wins that. Hopefully they attack Sam's Penecrat's channel more because I mean that guy can't defend. So and even the loose forwards of the loosies of the Stormers, I think they have Paul de Villiers, Dixon and Ivan. So hopefully those guys, I think they can actually make and break this game. I mean, they've been good all season. I mean, Ivan Ross is actually the lead, if I'm not mistaken, the leading try scorer. So I really hope they don't lose concentration like the Lions did there at Aviva, and I'm hopeful that Mattia can actually play better. Like he said, like Bryce said, he passes more than Sasha. I'm just hoping that Imad Khan makes less mistakes. I think that would actually help Matthias game on the day. So yeah, with Imad Khan minimizing his mistakes, I think it will help the transition from backline to the ball transition from backline to forward. From forwards to backline. So yeah, we'll see then.
It's a very interesting game because I mean, like the critique of the Stormers coaching staff throughout the season has been back and forth. Some sort of good faith and some bad faith, but they they're going to have to figure. Look, it's not like Leinster unbeaten this season. They've lost 6 times in the regular season, so there are ways to defeat them. But can the Stormers coaching staff come up with a game plan and then get the players to actually execute it to defeat Leinster in a semi-final in Dublin is what will be interesting. It's also thanks, Bryce, for actually being sort of positive about Warwick Harland. I think some of the discourse of Warwick Harland is sort of what makes one wonder, is this the roast of Kevin Hart or the roast of Warwick Harland at times? But we'll see what he can do off the bench. We've got Angara next to him as well, sort of another veteran presence. Um, Very balanced loose trio, I'll say that much of the Stormers. And then on top of it, they get two loose forwards in Rowan Ackerman and Marcel Tennyson on the bench to make an impact, and obviously the lock and Salman Morat. From a Leinster point of view, I read an article because test season's about to start soon, and I read an article outlining sort of New Zealand's picks of like backline players with their new coaching staff. And then in that article, it also said that like New Zealand sort of realized that Rico Ioane's most effective position, shall we say, is actually at wing. And Leinster have been playing him at wing and at outside centre interchangeably this season, so we'll see how that pans out. It's a very Super Rugby-esque Leinster team. We've got Rico Ioane there, James Lowe, Jameson Gibson-Park. I don't know if I'm watching the Crusaders or the Blues or Leinster at times, but yeah, they've got the financial backing to actually recruit players of such quality. And then Harry Byrne backing up uh, Super Siso's favorite guy, Sam Pendergrass, who had a good game against the Lions last week. I think the Lions sort of lost their way a little last week, especially with all those kicks going dead when they were trying to kick behind the Leinster rush defense. Um, Gus McCarthy's on the bench, and that means Calais starts. No first choice hooker, I forget his name. And then center pairing of I rate Jamie Osborne alongside Ricky Ioane, and then Gary Ringrose on the bench. Hugo Keenan hasn't been that convincing to me this season since he's got back. He's had better seasons in my humble opinion. And then obviously Luke McGrath deputizing for Jameson Gibson-Park on the bench. This game kicks off at 6:30, and the game we spoke about earlier kicks off at 3:30 South African time. So interesting second half of the evening for all of us. Gentlemen, before we move on from this game to discuss Jacques Nienaber, just a reminder to everybody, if you're watching this, there's a whole range of other podcasts on here. This is a bit of an animal, so we go twice a week, Mondays and Fridays, and then there's a French podcast, the Top 40 Digest. There's the URC Rewind on Sunday nights. There's an Irish podcast, Interpro Show. So there's a lot of really quality podcasts on this YouTube channel. We did encourage you to check it out. Bryce and Sibusiso, well, what synonyms can we use? Beelzebub, Shaitan, Lucifer. Are these words similar to Jacques Nienaber? We'll go with you first, Bryce. The Irish contingent, somewhat critical of Jacques Nienaber's impact as defensive coach / full coach at Leinster since he's returned. Jacques Nienaber was also coach. This is his second stint in Ireland. He had a short stint alongside Rassie at Munster. Bryce, do you feel that the critique is warranted? And should Jacques Nienaber return, where would you like him to slot in within the South African coaching Wendt chart?
Yeah, I think it's just frustration from Leinster fans because they haven't won anything really except that URC last season. But like I can't understand how you can blame Jacques Nienaber when even when he wasn't there, they weren't winning. So I mean, I guess they're expecting that he was supposed to like bring trophies and all that. But I mean, it's a Bordeaux team that's on fire, and they lost to a Toulouse team, an all-time great Toulouse team, and their squad isn't I would say they do have an aging squad at the moment. They're in a transition phase, so it's. I think it's a little bit misdirected at Jacques Nienaber, but I think he has done a decent job in terms of the defense, and there's only so much you can work for. Although I do think that the blame should rather go to the attack coach, because I think when Stuart Lancaster left as attack coach, there was a considerable drop in quality in terms of the attack. So I think that's probably the bigger thing that should be talked about. In terms of where should Jacques go, I would say, look, I like Norman Lake. I'm not gonna be that guy and just like, get him out of there. I think I think he should go to the. I don't want to say that. I think he should go to the Bulls. I think if there was a team that he should go to, he should go to the Bulls. But I think the Bulls are a bit soft when it comes to defense at times. I think the Lions. I think Jacques Fourie will. Jacques Fourie is definitely getting the Lions attack with a lot of fight and grunt, and he's getting a rush defense working there. He does have a limited squad, so I do think he's doing a good enough job. I don't recommend anyone go to the Sharks. No offense. I think that's just a black hole for talent, coaching and player wise. Because I mean,
Blasphemy.
because the if you remember what's his name, the Bordeaux attack coach, Noel what his name now? Noel McNamara or something. He was the Sharks attack coach, and it was a hit and miss with Sharks. But when it comes to Bordeaux, it's like the greatest thing ever to see. So if I had to say where you should go to the Bulls, and then you should go around South Africa, or actually, if you think outside the box, you should be like part of that Moby unit with Dwayne Vermeulen, just going team to team and just making sure that they on the right path. But if he does leave Leinster, I think he's going to have a lot of offers everywhere, and I think hopefully, whoever Patrice Motsepe or Johan Rupert brings out the big bucks to get him back home. I think we need every bit of IP in the country, and it would be nice to have him.
It's an interesting thing because obviously he's a talented coach. He's come through the system. He sort of earned his stripes. He's got a track record. He's highly sought after. But like the landscape of South African rugby, you don't want to disrupt the national team setup per se. But you can definitely add value at certain places. I read quite a few things on Reddit where people saying let's rather not disrupt the current Shark setup. Although we are getting a new backline coach for the season, we've got a incredibly young team with a lot of good players coming through the season, and then hopefully getting more game time next season in Vusi Moyo, in Sekitelo Siyaya, to the point that even Leon Chilemere departed for the Bulls. A couple of forward players as well. I mean, we've got Albie Bester, Lily Bester, what's the other Bester? Ethan Bester at forward and that type of thing. I don't know who our defensive coach is. If he were to come in and not replace JP, but instead sort of be the the defensive coach, I would be open to it. The other key impact here is that when he departed the national team to take over, well, not take over, but join the broader Leinster coaching staff, he said a big aspect of it was that his partner, that she quite enjoyed living in Ireland and wanted to return. So there's that aspect. I mean, we spoke about things like that as it relates to Justin Colby for the last 2 weeks as well. So the Bulls thing makes sense as well. I mean, Ackerman's sort of evolving his coaching staff, and I don't think Jacques has the ego to now go, oh well, I used to be like head coach at the Springboks. Why should I be assistant? There's a lot of coaches don't mind taking the step back and being able to focus on one key aspect. So yeah, and then the whole Leinster thing is they've got a good team. They were struggling to win the big one, i.e., they really wanted to win a Champions Cup. And then they rolled the dice and they were like, look, what we were trying wasn't getting us there, so why not sort of like shoot for the stars? And it hasn't quite worked out, but they're still a solid team. And it's weird that like Leinster aren't that chuffed about winning a URC because Ireland have their ups and downs, but Irish teams have won two URCs in Munster and Leinster. South African teams have won one in the Stormers, and the Scottish team has won one. So it's not like it's a disaster per se. Where would you like to see Jacques employed next, Sibusiso?
I'd like to agree with Bryce. I think the Bulls are probably his best destination. Like, yeah. Um, you're asking, you were saying you don't know who Sharks defensive coach. Isn't Joey Mungalo with the Sharks? He's the
Ah,
former
yeah.
Lions defensive
Yeah, you're
coach.
right. Yeah. I forgot about
Yeah.
Joey.
So yeah. So with regards to Jacques, I mean, the guy is quite frustrated. I mean, the situation in Ireland right now, it feels like, I don't know, someone is actually paying the newspapers to write the way they do. It feels like some sort of a smear campaign to get rid of the guy, but I don't understand how it's happening. So, but yeah, to agree with Bryce there, I think the Bulls would be actually a good destination for him because personally, I feel like you're saying, we don't need to disrupt the Sharks, but we must take him to a union um most with most Springboks so that whatever philosophy he instills there can carry on to the national team. So I mean, the Bulls have probably the second most Springboks after the Sharks, if I'm not mistaken, or not anymore, because the Sharks Springboks are actually leaving. So, so him going to the Bulls would actually benefit the country as a whole, rather than him going back to the Springbok setup. So I think that would work for him.
Yeah, the Sharks are losing Grant Williams, and he's a regular Springbok, as well as Siya Kolisi. And then one could count or Trevor Motomoto Nikane, but he's mostly a podcaster these days. So since he got to us, he sort of. Well, the weird thing about Trevor is that like the Sharks posted a video on their social media, and then towards the end of the video, um, they were on the training pitch and they were asking Trevor like, what like to like they're asking him a question and he was like, oh no, I can't do that because all my humors and my Achilles is not so good. And then 2 weeks later he tears his Achilles and he's been out for a year and a half since. So it's like foreshadowing over there. So we'll have to see what happens. It's interesting. I forgot that he was at the Cheetahs. From the Cheetahs, he spent quite a lot of time at Western Province Stormers. Um, Bryce, if the Stormers coaching staff or the people running the Stormers were like, look, we also need a change, would you be open to Jacques Nienaber taking over as head coach of the Stormers next season, that is?
That will be really interesting. Actually, it's, I'm not sure. I don't know him personally, so I don't know what his coaching style is. But from what we've seen from the Springboks, he is very systems driven. And at times I do think the Stormers need a little bit of structure, especially when they try to play, basketball. But yeah, actually, I wouldn't mind him actually, because he's got this, he's got the international experience. He's worked with multiple different coaches from different nations, different systems, and I think he will bring a lot of like what Rassie brought to the Springboks. He'll bring it from Leinster to the Stormers. But I don't want to, I don't want to like go at double here because this is not the. Let's first wait. Just not double wins the competition, and then we busy saying these type of conversations. So we'll only we'll only slag him after what's it, uh, 8 o'clock on Saturday. Then we can say this again. Yeah.
Because the thing is that like when Jacques joined Leinster, they were doing well. It wasn't a bad team, but Lancaster, he basically took over from Lancaster, and Lancaster had left for France because he just wanted a new challenge. The Stormers have a solid coaching team. I just wonder about their backline cohesion and the fact that like Cardiff can pull backline moves, but Stormers can't. Whereas Stormers backline move is like give it to the talented person and see what happens. Um, So there comes a point, and we see this in football as well, where a coaching staff as a whole, because I always think of it as a coaching staff as a whole, as opposed to people tend to just talk about the manager and or the head coach. It's also his assistants. It's almost run, not to say that they're bad at their job, but they almost run their course with the team. And sometimes you need a fresh reboot. And then in a way, giving the team a fresh reboot makes it that you don't necessarily have to do much recruiting because all the players start on a fresh footing as well. And then it sort of brings a certain levity. So considering that he like earned his stripes, spent time at the Cheetahs, Cats slash Lions, was at the Stormers for a significant amount of time, a very short period of time at Munster, and then into the South African system, and then back into Ireland. That type of IP. I mean, people always talk about rugby players as having good IP, but just because you're a high quality player doesn't guarantee you'll make a high quality coach. But you can't really question Jacques Nienaber's coaching chops, considering what he's achieved at the coaching level. So yeah, we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting because I mean, like, if Stormers win, the knives are going to be out for Jacques, and then there won't be a place for him probably at the Stormers. It depends on what happens at the final as well. Final thoughts, Sibusiso, before we say goodnight?
If that scenario happens, the one you just mentioned, then he can come to the Lions, man. I mean, I think we over Cash now. Cash has reached his ceiling at the Lions. I mean, we've changed his backroom stuff and kept Cash for a long time. And for the first time in a long time, at least he got us to a knockout stage. But yeah, I think Nienaber can work at the Lions with the backroom stuff or his backroom stuff that he has. So I think Cash has reached his ceiling. Yeah. So hopefully the two South African teams can actually give us a South African final. Yeah, we'll see. But I'm more hopeful for the Bulls than the Stormers. So yeah, we'll see what happens over the weekend.
On that note, from myself, Bryce, and Sibusiso, until next time, until Monday, in Rassi, we trust.